Hi everybody, this is David with Cartoon Fortress, and I'm excited to be here with you as always. And I'm even more excited today because I am joined by one of my good friends on YouTube, my guest today, Tony from the Toyklectrr YouTube channel. Tony, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm good. How are you doing, David?
Doing great. It's really great to have you here with me, and I'm excited for the recommendations we're going to be giving today. So right now we are mid-November. We're in the middle of the Criterion collection 50% off sale at Barnes & Noble, which goes all the way through November 30th. And so we wanted to give a few recommendations on films that you might want to consider if you're looking to go to the sale and pick up some titles. And even if you're not looking to go to the Barnes & Noble sale, these are recommendations that would be worth your time, at least in our opinion. So I'm going to go ahead, if you don't mind, Tony, I'll go ahead and get started with my first recommendation.
Okay.
And what we have here is Spine number 425. And this is a release, I believe this came out as a Blu-ray upgrade about a year ago, I want to say. I believe it was sometime in 2019. But this is from 1984 and is directed by Hiroshi Teshigahara, and this is Antonio Gaudí. Now, this was new to me on the Criterion channel. I watched this, they had this film featured, and I was absolutely mesmerized by this title. So this focuses on the work of Antonio Gaudí, who lived from 1852 through 1926, and I'll just kind of go on the back here. He designed some of the world's most astonishing buildings, interiors, and parks. So what we have here is actually more of a kind of a meditation on art and architecture and how people interact with such things. And the score on this, it's really kind of a minimalistic type score. But again, I found it just completely mesmerizing, just, again, very meditative and just visual. So there's no, there's no kind of set structure. It's just basically a guided tour through the work of Antonio Gaudí. And so it's kind of refreshing just to turn something on and just be taken through these different pieces of architecture. And there's some really, really interesting looking things here that that Gaudí does. And I really love the direction here by Teshigahara. And there's a really good amount of extra features on here. And actually, I haven't gone too deep in the extras on this yet. So that's something that I still need to do. But I've seen the film, love it, and this comes highly, highly recommended. And this actually was released my birth year. This is a 1984 film and has a pretty slim runtime of 72 minutes. So it's nothing that's going to hold you for, an extended period of time. But yeah.
So is that more like a documentary or?
It's hard to call it a documentary because there's not someone speaking. It's very visual, and it's just got this really, really cool vibe to it, with the kind of the minimalistic type music that's that's kind of with you throughout, and then you're just looking at really cool architecture. It's like you're going with a friend to a museum and you're just kind of walking through the museum and enjoying, looking at pieces of art. So
pretty much no dialogue or anything?
Nope. And it's just
that's interesting.
Accompanied by music. And I actually think, it'd be hard not to recommend this to really everybody because it's just enjoying art. There's no, story structure. It's just enjoying the visuals of Gaudí's work. So really interesting film. I was just really blown away by it, actually. So highly recommended.
Okay, well, my first recommendation is Spine number 834 from Joel and Ethan Coen, Blood Simple. So I first purchased this a couple of years ago and watched it for the first time and really, really loved the movie. Of course, I love Joel and Ethan Coen's work, and the story on this one was really, really good. Now, have you seen this one?
I've seen this many, many times. Yes, I
Have
love
you?
it.
Okay. Yeah. So, any kind of murder and crime type movie is right up my alley. I really enjoy those types of movies, and I really enjoyed the look and feel of the filming of this, and it's just a great movie. I definitely recommend this one.
Yeah, well, and funny thing is, just like my first selection, these are both 1984 films. So
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of
Now,
fun.
if I'm not mistaken, I believe this is their first film that they did.
It is, and it's really high up on my list. It's hard for me to not call Blood Simple my favorite Joel and Ethan Coen film, and it actually might be. It's a fist fight for me between that and No Country for Old Men.
Oh yeah, that's another great one.
No, yeah, that's one. If we're talking Criterion wish list here, Criterion, if you happen to be watching this, yeah, No Country for Old Men would be spectacular to see on Criterion, and in fact, so would Fargo.
Oh yeah, Fargo's great.
Those are my top three Coen Brothers films. So, yeah, but that's a great pick. One I've seen many times, and everyone should own that owns Criterion films.
Yeah,
in my
and
opinion.
it's only 94 minutes, so it's a really easy watch.
Yeah.
It's not too drug out.
One I love, man, the performances in that film are, it's one of those films that I honestly come back to. I mean, I've seen it probably 7 or 8 times, I'd say.
I've seen it
overall.
once.
Oh, have you? Oh man, I hope it's one that you keep coming back to.
Oh,
And
it definitely would be.
the supplements on there too, if you haven't gotten in on those, there's some great extra features on there to dive in.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and move on to my second selection here. And we are just coming out of election season here in the United States. And so that kind of fueled this pick. And this is from one of my favorite filmmakers in the Criterion Collection, and that is D.A. Pennebaker. And in fact, this is a film by Chris Hedges and D.A. Pennebaker. And this is from 1993. This is The War Room. Now, what this focuses on is the 1992 presidential election. Obviously, we have Bill Clinton, the Clinton campaign, and this is basically just a behind-the-scenes look. It's just unrestricted access for cameras to follow the campaign, and it's really interesting. It's so George Stephanopoulos, who's now the chief anchor over at ABC News, was with Clinton, and in fact, here he is on the cover, and so it's interesting to see him in that role, and just the kind of the pressure that comes with politics and the deadlines and the kind of waiting for numbers, and this definitely isn't a Republican, Democrat, you can only watch this if you're a Democrat type thing. It's just a very interesting film to kind of see the process of what goes into an election and running a campaign. So I found this really interesting, and I've just seen this one time. I saw it again on the Criterion channel, and I picked this up just a couple, or maybe even just a month ago. It's been a month or two ago that I picked this up. And this has a few different extra features on it, but the runtime on this one is 96 minutes, and yeah, comes highly recommended. It's definitely so this definitely is a documentary, and yeah, Pennebaker, he's got a large presence in the Criterion Collection, and I've talked about his films before. In fact, in one of my other recommendation videos, I recommended the Complete Monterey Pop Festival, which is a great music title, and he's done others. In fact, he has Bob Dylan's "Don't Look Back," and I'm trying to remember. I'm on the spot here. What other Pennebaker titles I have, but anyways, Yeah, The War Room is a really interesting documentary, and it's such a slice of kind of that time of the early '90s, and of course, we all know kind of the controversy surrounding Clinton being in office and everything that went on, but it's interesting to see kind of the people leading up to kind of that time in the White House, and just a lot of kind of human drama and that type of thing. So really interesting watch.
Okay, my next choice is Spy Number 575, Stanley Kubrick's The Killing. So I actually first watched this back in April, I believe, for the first time. And somebody had recommended me to pick this up. And I wasn't really sure if I was going to like it or not, but it's a really good movie. It's from 1956. It is in black and white. It's 84 minutes. But it's another great film. Now, this also includes Killer's Kiss, which is another Stanley Kubrick film. But as far as this one right here, it kept my attention again because of, it's based on kind of like like it says, it's The Killing, but you just have to watch the story to see how it unfolds. Now, I know that you might have been the one that recommended this one.
I'm pretty sure it was me that recommended it.
So.
I love that film.
Yeah, what do you think about it?
Yeah, it's good. It's if you've seen a lot of Kubrick's later work, I wouldn't say that it's a piece that really shows his style that would later come. Now he's a director though that of course jumped genres a lot, and so we have films like The Shining, which is my favorite Kubrick film. If you compare The Shining to The Killing, and if you compare that to Clockwork Orange or any of his other films, I wouldn't say it's one that you watch and you immediately go, oh, that's a Stanley Kubrick film. But
Right.
it is a wonderful 1950s film, and I love Sterling Hayden's performance specifically in that. He's in the lead. He wears the clown mask. And in fact, that clown mask, I don't think I've found anything official on this, but now I don't want to give spoilers or anything, but if you watch the film, there's a clown mask that he dons, and there is, in my opinion, there is no way that Chris Nolan didn't take direct influence from Kubrick's The Killing for The Dark Knight. Now, the opening scene of The Dark Knight, and everyone and their dog has seen The Dark Knight, so I don't feel like I'm giving anything away, but in the opening scene of The Dark Knight, the Joker, has on the clown mask. And if you watch that and compare, in my opinion, Nolan is giving a nod to Kubrick. It's just kind of an interesting thing that I pulled out from that, but from that film. But yeah, no, it's a really great heist type film. If you want to boil it down to just kind of a specific thing, just a really cool heist film. And again, not going to give spoilers away, but the ending is just like, it's kind of crushing in a way to see what happens to these characters, even though they're carrying out illegal activities. You'll just have to watch if you haven't seen it. But yeah, it's a fantastic film. And Killer's Kiss, have you seen Killer's Kiss yet?
I have not.
That's a great watch. That's an even earlier film from Kubrick, and you should pop that one in sometime soon. You'll really enjoy it. There's some really interesting scenes in that film, and as a whole, it really worked for me. I've heard other opinions that it's a very obvious kind of rookie piece from Kubrick, but I quite enjoyed Killer's Kiss. I liked The Killing better if I'm doing a direct comparison, but I thought the Killer's Kiss was well worth my time as well to watch.
Yeah.
So, all right, great recommendation. Okay, so I'm going to move on to my third pick here, and we're going to go back a few years to 1937. This is a film by Leo McCarey, and this is Make Way for Tomorrow. Now, Make Way for Tomorrow is I'm just going to kind of give this disclaimer. It is a very emotional film. I mean, it really gets you at your core. So basically, it follows this couple. They have I'm trying to remember if it's I believe 4 kids, and they're getting on in their years, and there's illness and things like that, and they have their kids, and nobody's stepping up to the plate to take care of them. And so they feel like wherever they go, they're an inconvenience. And there's a lot of kind of commentary on family and kind of the family dynamics of and families dealing with members of the family getting older, and in this case it's their parents. And it's really emotional to see decisions, sometimes really poor decisions that are made by the kids, and how these two, and they're just hopelessly in love, how circumstance is pulling them apart. And as you can see on the cover, they're headed in different directions. And it's very much kind of against their will because they're hopelessly in love. It's a wonderful marriage, and you really, at least for me when I was watching this, I was really angry. had feelings of anger coming up just because of how they're being treated. But anyway, so it's kind of that dynamic at play here. And I don't know what you'd call this in terms of genre. I guess you would just call it a drama, but it's definitely got a lot of notes of romance, as again with this couple. But it's really kind of soul crushing. And this is another one where the final scene leaves you, I don't want to say cold, I mean, a little bit, but it's just, it leaves you in thought for quite a while. And the first time I saw it, it made me really appreciate the relationship that I have with my wife. And I know you've been married for, a long time, and it's a lot longer than I have, but, it really makes you appreciate, the marriage relationship and just that bond, and you want to do everything in your power to just keep this couple together. So it's a tough watch, but it's an easy recommendation. And Leo McCarey's direction is absolutely wonderful. The performance, and I'm sorry, I don't have their, let's see, Victor Moore and Beulah Bondi, I believe, are our 2 leads here. And just absolutely wonderful performances. Just a real tearjerker of a film here, but definitely recommended. And a few good extra features on here. I did watch through those. There's some interviews, and then there's actually the booklet in here is actually quite thick, and it's one of the stapled booklets with essays, and there was some great content in there as well. So make way for tomorrow. And the runtime on this one is 92 minutes.
So yeah, again, I picked that one up during the Criterion sale last month.
Oh, you did get this?
I did. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, so I'm definitely looking forward to checking that one out.
I think you'll really enjoy it, kind of with the disclaimer on there that just get ready to watch a very, very kind of emotional film, but really, really touching film too.
Okay. Well, my next selection is Spy Number 905, The Breakfast Club.
Nice.
I know a lot of people probably felt like this didn't belong on the Criterion.
Boo.
I really love this movie.
Yep.
It's a John Hughes film. I went to high school during the 80s, and I remember watching this way back then, and just really enjoyed it, just the dynamics of high school and all these different kind of cliques together in detention. Just, if you haven't seen it, which I think pretty much everybody has, there's been so many different physical media releases of this film. But it's one that I would definitely recommend if if you haven't got this in your collection, then this would be the version that you'd want to get.
Yeah, this is the version to get for sure. And let me just clear this up here. Breakfast Club deserves to be in the Criterion collection. I think we're both firmly of that opinion. Breakfast Club for me was one of those kind of coming of age, like for me personally, when I was transitioning from, kind of kid to being a teenager, that time. Breakfast Club was one of those films that I watched, and I was really transformed by what I saw. And yeah, I agree with you. The interaction between characters and the different cliques. I mean, you have something from kind of each social corner of high school, and we've all been there. The jocks and the dweebs and I mean, just I love how they're all kind of represented, and just the discussions that happen, and I mean the music too. It was so it's so much a product of the 80s in such a good way.
Right.
I love the music. It's a soundtrack that I listen to from time to time, and this is another film. Well, I've seen this even more than Blood Simple. If I'm being totally honest, I probably can't count how many times I've seen The Breakfast Club. But just such a great product of the 80s, and it might be my favorite teen movie of all time, to be honest.
Yeah, so it's from 1985, and I actually graduated high school in 87. So,
this is right at your time.
The depiction of this is pretty much precise as to what I remember from high school. Of course, in high school, I was a loner. I didn't really branch out and talk to people. So, I can kind of relate to these different cliques that were represented in this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it's and John Hughes is a filmmaker that really should be celebrated. He had some really wonderful films, starting with 16 Candles, and then up through into the 90s he got into kind of producing a lot of different films, but those kind of core teen films that he made are so important to a lot of people. Iconic. Yeah, definitely. So I'm very happy with that recommendation, and that is the version to own. In fact, there's, if I remember right, on the extra features on there's something like 45 minutes of deleted scenes, which I was excited to watch, just again because I've seen it so many times, and it's interesting to go see what was cut from the film, and so a lot of great extra features to get into as well. All right, so my fourth pick, my second to last pick here, is a 2019 film, and this has the nice digipack presentation from Criterion, and this is from Noah Baumbach, and this is Marriage Story. So Marriage Story, so this stars Scarlett Johansson and Adam Driver on the cover here, of course, and and it's interesting to kind of compare, because we have two kind of films dealing with familial relationships and marriage, and this definitely goes a different route than Make Way for Tomorrow, and is a different story, but this deals heavily with the topic of divorce, and and they've got a kid, so kind of the dynamics of divorce and kind of learning how to navigate living in different places, and this one for me, I'm not going to lie, was a very difficult watch. It's not an easy film to get through, and for people who have been through divorce, which unfortunately I've experienced, for people who have been through divorce, this one really hits close to home in some ways, a little too close to home. There's some really uncomfortable scenes to get through, but overall I felt like the dialogue and the interplay between characters was very authentic in my opinion. I
Mm-hmm.
really enjoyed this, and I feel like it's a film that should be really at the top of anyone's list for 2019. Now, my favorite film of 2019 was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and then of course you have Parasite, and then Marriage Story. In fact, I think that's probably my top three from that year. Um, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but have you seen any Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Parasite, or Marriage Story? Like, would those
Yeah,
fare well
yeah,
for
I've
you
seen
that
all
year?
three of those. Yeah. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood's probably the lowest on that list.
Oh, okay.
Um, Parasite, then Marriage Story, and then Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Um, that's, but as far as Marriage Story, that is, I mean, it was a pretty realistic depiction of divorce from
Yeah.
what I've seen. It
Yeah.
almost reminds me a little bit of Kramer versus Kramer.
Sure.
Back in the day, how
Yeah.
that film people's reactions to that. To me, this would be, an updated version of that, but it's so realistic and the acting is so true to life.
That's
The
actually
anger, the feelings, all those things.
yeah, absolutely. And that's a great comparison actually. Kramer versus Kramer. I don't think there's a better film that you could compare this to.
Right.
And that's a really, really well done Dustin Hoffman and Meryl Streep, of course, with the couple in that film, but and they have the one son as well. So that's yeah, you couldn't have a better
Right.
comparison. And yeah, I would say there's very similar scenes in that because you get the kind of the attorneys involved, and you have the kid that you're kind of trying to figure out how to kind of where the kid needs to live and all this these dynamics and yeah, Kramer versus Kramer, the end of that film, with Meryl Streep and Dustin Hoffman, the interaction that they have is pretty emotional. I mean, it's pretty astounding kind of what they were able to accomplish with that film. And that was made I want to say that one was 1979.
Yeah.
I think I'm pulling that year correctly, but
You said something about the attorneys. So thinking
yeah.
about Alan Alda in this film,
Yeah.
and I guess Laura Dern,
Yep. Laura
and how
Dern.
different their two approaches to that was, and you can kind of see how that plays out in both of their stories. The
Yeah.
way that the lawyer participated in the divorce, and how that kind of changed the ideas for each of these people.
Yeah. I was really happy to see Alan Alda in this film because, of course, he's passed away now, and so that was cool to see him in there. I love Laura Dern, and then who? Because Adam Driver actually had two attorneys. I'm losing his name right now. Goodfellas. Oh man, I'm gonna find this. Ray Liotta.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Ray Liotta's. I was losing his name there. Yeah, Ray Liotta's here because Adam Driver's character actually has two different attorneys, and
Yeah, very different.
yeah, very very different style of attorneys for sure. One's a bit
But
more
to me,
cutthroat.
Laura Dern did a great job playing the attorney that she played, just because to me that seemed more true to life.
Yeah.
How she was kind of buttering up one side, but was conniving on the other.
Oh yeah.
It seemed pretty realistic to me.
Yeah, it's a tough situation to be in for sure. So it's uncomfortable, but it's supposed to be. I mean, the subject that we're looking at here, it's not a comfortable subject, but just really great and just packed with extra features. And there's a new 4K digital transfer on this, and the presentation here. I just want to kind of show this a little bit. The presentation here is really nice. So you have Scarlett Johansson and then Adam Driver, and then you open this up and it's just, whoops. So you've got the little leaflet here, and then this opens up and there's two, and I'm not going to go into detail here for those who haven't seen it, but you have a letter here on each side, and that's an integral part of the film, and a a really nice touch on the packaging. Oh, and then there's I think I showed that though, but there's their son. But in terms of packaging, I felt like there was a lot of thought that was put into it. And yeah, one of my favorite recent Criterion releases.
Okay, so my next suggestion is Spy Number 591, 12 Angry Men. Now, this is a film that a lot of people have probably seen. I actually caught this one on TV several years ago, and then I learned that there was a Criterion release, so I definitely wanted to add that one to my collection. But just overall, it's a really good older story. This is from 1957.
Yep.
96 minutes. It gives you a really good depiction of the judicial system and being on jury duty and the different conflicts between each person. To me, it was just a classic movie. I know it's probably one of your favorites too.
Well, actually, it's my favorite Criterion release ever. It is, and this comes from one of my favorite years in film, 1957. Honestly, might be. I mean, it's definitely going to be in my top 3 or top 5 years of film because there were so many great titles coming out that year. But Sidney Lumet, his direction, the cast on this film is incredible, led by Henry Fonda and Lee J. Cobb. I mean, he's just absolutely electric. And, you know, Martin Balsam. And I mean, the cast is absolutely spectacular. The dialogue is second to none. This is one of those instances where I feel like we have a perfect film. There's nothing about this film that I would change.
Yeah, the way that they shot it, you know, it's almost like you're there with them in the deliberation room or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But it was pretty, I guess it's pretty low budget because there wasn't very much to as far as the filming of it. It's pretty much just one location, and I don't know, it's almost like you were just right there with them.
Yeah, it's I like what you were saying. It feels claustrophobic, like you're there because it's not a huge room, you know, this deliberation room, and so it's claustrophobic in the best way because you feel like you can't get away. It's what they're all talking about in the discussion that's going on. You feel like you're just right there in the mix, and just the dialogue between characters. And this is one kind of like The Breakfast Club where you have individuals from very different perspectives. This as well, you have individuals, you know, all 12 juror members, and they all have these different points of view. And you know, Henry Fonda's, you know, very commanding, and you know, he does what Henry Fonda does. And the interesting thing to note for Fonda specifically is that this was actually his favorite film that he ever did. Really? I've seen interviews with him and where he's talked about this. In fact, I don't know if it's I don't think it was a supplement on the disc that I watched where I saw him say that, but I was watching an interview with him and he said that 12 Angry Men was top of the stack for what he filmed in his career. So that, you know, that says something as well, that, you know, that the actors were, you know, that invested in that, you know, kind of sold on what they were doing. But it really is. It's one of those instances where it's a perfect film. There's nothing I would change. And yeah, and that's another one that I've seen just countless times. And,
so what's your next pick?
Yeah, so I'm on to my last pick here. We're at the end of the stack, and I had to bring in some Richard Linklater, one of my favorite directors in the collection. And this is a very peculiar title. When I was new, so it was really the Criterion collection that introduced me to Richard Linklater, and I've really just fallen in love with his work. You know, one of the big box sets in the collection that so many Criterion collectors talk about is the Before trilogy, and that's not the title I have here, but that does come highly recommended. And he's one of these directors that is just really zoned in on dialogue and kind of the character interactions through dialogue. And this is a shining example of that. This is Richard Linklater's Slacker. Now, this is also in the nice digipack style. There's a nice thick, really thick book in this one, actually. And this is from 1991. And basically, it's just like, it's kind of a slice of life, just kind of a camera following individuals through Austin, Texas. This is kind of a day in the life of Austin, Texas, and kind of the weird individuals, I guess, that we encounter. And it's just like it goes from one tangent to the next to the next, and some of the conversations that are had and some of the things that are said are just absolutely hilarious. They're so off the wall, strange. Some of the people that we meet, you're just like, there's something off with this with this person. They're very kind of, eccentric individuals, and but yeah, it all comes down to the dialogue for me. This is a very dialogue heavy. In fact, that really drives everything forward is the dialogue. And if you're used to Linklater and kind of on how he operates, that's not really a surprise. But it's kind of hard to encapsulate what this film is all about. It's kind of more of an experience than it is an interesting story, or where the story takes you, because it's just, again, very dialogue driven. And so it comes highly recommended, and there's not a whole lot more to say about it than you just need to watch it.
Yeah, so I actually owned that one. I got it. I guess last November. I think I purchased that, but it's still sitting on my shelf. I've never checked it out, so I'm definitely going to check that out. Probably tomorrow. I'll have to watch that.
It's so fun. I mean, it's really zany, and there's moments where you're scratching your head, and it's so weird. It's so weird, and that's really kind of the best praise that I can give it. And I know Richard Linklater, I'm sure, he'd be happy with that kind of review. But yeah, so this is again from 1991, runtime of 100 minutes. And as you can see, I mean, just a whole slew of extra features on here. And yeah, so this one, again, we have the digipack style packaging, and then you have, the disc, and, so a really thick book on this one. Mm-hmm. So lots to read and get through on this one. But, and then on the inside, it's just, I love the packaging and the style here. So really fun release.
Criterion does a really good job with most packaging and supplements and different things.
Yeah, and I'm not one that I always, I don't always have to have the, the digipack. I love their standard, clear cases. I think they're really high quality. One thing I do wish they would move away from is the kind of leaflet style, and that they would stick with like the stapled, books.
Yeah.
But that's just me. But yeah, this is a great example of really good packaging from Criterion. So that is my last pick, Slacker.
So was that from, what year did you say that one's from?
91. Yeah, 1991.
So my last pick is from 1991 also. It's
nice.
Spy number 13, The Silence of the Lambs.
Great pick.
So pretty much, I guess most people have seen this movie. But it's one of my favorite movies of all times. To me, I just enjoyed the, I don't know, the movie's just as creepy as can be. Hannibal Lecter, Anthony Hopkins in that character. I mean, it just made the character for me. But just the whole story. That's the type of movie that I really like, is the look and the feel of the movie. I don't know if you've ever seen the TV show Mindhunter, about serial killers and different things.
Yeah.
That's kind of what that show reminds me of, is the way that Silence of the Lambs is. I like true crime. I like, I know this is fiction. This is fiction, but to me, I like anything to do with true crime type stuff. And Jodie Foster's performance was just excellent in this one.
Yeah, Jodie Foster definitely deserves a lot of recognition for her role. And an interesting thing, I don't know if this is a spoiler necessarily, but I thought it was interesting the first time that I saw this film back when, I don't remember when that was, but it's interesting to note the limited screen time that Anthony Hopkins has.
Right. It's
not as much about his character, but boy, when he's on screen, he's on screen.
Yeah, from some of the things that I watched about this movie, about the making of it, I think they pretty much kept Jodie Foster and Anthony Hopkins separated during a lot of this movie. Of course, as you can tell, they're not in the movie together too much, but when they are, it's just, I don't know, it's just real creepy looking.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I'd say this is more of a Jodie Foster film, but of course, we know, with this having been released, 30 years ago almost now, that Anthony Hopkins is really the one remembered, but Jodie Foster's absolutely fantastic. And I like her, just in general, I like Jodie Foster. One that comes to mind is Panic Room. That's I think that was directed by David Fincher, if I remember right. I might be off on that. I'm sure someone in the comments will let me know if I'm wrong. I think that was a David Fincher film, but anyways, but she's really commanding in that film as well, and just she does a great job in lead roles.
Yeah. Have you ever seen The Accused?
I haven't.
Oh man, to me that's one of mine that I would love to see on the Criterion. There's not even a Blu-ray release of it that I'm aware of, but anyway, she has a great performance in that. I want to say that she might have won an Oscar for that portrayal in The Accused. If I'm thinking correctly, I think she did. But either way, she's something else.
Interesting. Yeah, I'll have to look that title up. Maybe I can find it on streaming or something like that. But so I believe that was your last recommendation as well, right?
Yep.
Okay. Well, I think that's a pretty solid stack. So let's just maybe go back again really quick. So I've got Antonio Gaudí, The War Room, Make Way for Tomorrow, Marriage Story, and finally Slacker.
Yep.
What did you have?
Got the Silence of the Lambs, 12 Angry Men, The Breakfast Club, The Killing, and Blood Simple. Excellent films.
Yeah, really, really good choices, Tony. And this was really fun to do. Is there anything else that you want to say about the sale, or recommendation-wise, anything else?
No, so I've already started partaking in the Barnes & Noble sale. I'm just waiting to make my road trip to go pick some titles up. So hopefully there will be a couple of videos, at least one video coming up that will showcase what I picked up for the Barnes & Noble sale.
Perfect.
What about you?
So you and I over on your channel, we did the Criterion flash sale haul. So I picked up 10 titles during the flash sale. And then recently, in fact, before the Barnes & Noble sale started, I picked up Parasite. And then at the end of the sale, I'm going to bring in, The Irishman. Couldn't think of the title there. The Irishman. Other than that, it was more the flash sale that did it for me. I've got some other big hauls that I'm bringing in from some other Shocktober sales and stuff like that. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to dive in as heavy as I normally do. But that flash sale, though, I got a lot of the new releases that I was really after. And
I think it's kind of odd that they did the flash sale right before the Barnes & Noble sale. I don't know if they typically do that, but I got quite a bit from the flash sale myself, too.
Yeah. Criterion usually does those a couple of times per year. I think the other one, I think we can expect one in, I want to say it's about February, if I remember right. But yeah, it seems like there's always sales going on. whether it's, Criterion or, Kino Lorber or Warner with their 4 for 44, or,
which I'm
as,
waiting on.
as collectors, it's collector issues. We always have sales going on, but
Yep. Too many sales and not enough money.
yeah, story of my life, but yet we still spend.
We find a way.
We find a way.
We don't always have to eat. We don't have to eat every day, do we?
No, I mean, Chef Boyardee does it for me. So, ramen noodles. If I can have ramen noodles and Slacker, it was an okay day. So, all right, well, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Just a pleasure having you here with me, Tony. And Tony, can you tell everyone where you are at on social media?
Yep, I am on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, and I'm on Instagram. Definitely check me out on Instagram. That's pretty much where I post all my, Instagram and Twitter both, but I usually post every day on those two platforms of what I picked up. And also you can find me over on Letterboxd. I do list all the titles that I watch. So yeah, find me on any of those locations.
Perfect. Yeah, and if any of you haven't subscribed to Tony on any of those platforms, but on YouTube, he does a lot of unboxing videos like I do. And as you can see behind him, he's got quite an amazing collection of films. So definitely go visit him. It's definitely worth your time. And if you're new to my channel, to Cartoon Fortress, and if you found this helpful or entertaining in any way, I invite you to hit the subscribe button. Also, do Tony and I a favor and hit that like button and the bell icon so that you'll be notified when I upload new videos in the future. And until next time, this is your host, David and Tony, signing off with Cartoon Fortress, and we hope you have an awesome day.